Dean Baker of the Center for Economic and Policy Research and author of the book, The End of Loser Liberalism. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Does the Romney campaign know this plan just doesn't work? I mean, do we have to keep coming up with empirical verification for that fact?
Well, I think they must know because they don't put the details on the table. And, you know, what's striking here is the response to the Tax Policy Center. You know, they're calling them partisan, this and that. You know, the reality is these are people who have worked in both Republican and Democratic administrations. Their model is open. It's not a secret. Mitt Romney himself had praised the Tax Policy Center during the primaries when they modeled Rick Perry's plan and said how much money it would cost the government. If he thinks that they've done it incorrectly, he has good economists on his team. What they do is they put their alternatives on the table. If they think they did something wrong, you go, no, we aren't going to get rid of the mortgage interest deduction. We're going to get the money somewhere else and tell us where the somewhere else is. But, you know, I've looked at what the Tax Policy Center did. I think you'd be hard-pressed if you're Mitt Romney supporter say, here's our solution. We're going to come up with a way that looks better for the middle class. Really hard to see what they would do.
Yeah, if they got a better way, tell us, spill the beans. Or, you know, keep talking. Romney was non-committal to an across-the-board tax cut until he felt some pressure from his Republican rivals in the primary. Here's his declaration on taxes back in February so people will remember.
There are a couple of things I'd like to announce to you today. I'm going to lower rates across the board for all Americans by 20%. All right?
Now, Dean, doesn't that mean if Romney had his druthers, would he have stayed away from a tax plan like this? Doesn't seem to favor what his ideas are.
Well, it is very hard to tell. I mean, obviously the Republicans got into a bidding war who's got the bigger tax plan, and tax cuts are certainly very popular with the Republican base. We know when he was governor in Massachusetts, Romney was a relative moderate. So, you know, what does he really think? You know, I couldn't say. I mean, so, you know, what he would try to do if he were president, you know, that's something for people to guess at. But what you have to do is look at what he's saying now. And what he's saying now is he's talking about big tax cuts for the wealthy, which, again, if he's saying it's going to be paid for, the only way we could see, if he's got another one put on the table, is by taking away things like the mortgage interest deduction that are big things for a lot of middle-income people.
Well, this is what I'm trying to figure out, too, Dean. How can the Romney put any spin on this tax plan to make it sound good for anyone but the wealthy? I just don't get it.
Well, I think their whole effort throughout, you know, at least thus far through the campaign has been to be vague and try and say, oh, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that, and try and get away with numbers that clearly don't add up and hope that he's not called on. And that's why it was really great that the Tax Policy Center took the lead and actually did this, because they do have a well-respected model. I mean, this is used in all sorts of analysis. It's not just coming out of the blue. They've been used for years and years. And, you know, I think they're respected pretty much across the political spectrum. So, again, they put the cards on the table, and, you know, I think it's really incumbent on the Romney campaign now to say, if it's wrong, here's why.
Well, you know, you handicap it for us. Do you expect Romney will ever fill in the blanks for us? Is this as much detail as we'll ever get on his tax plan?
My guess is he will try to be evasive because I don't see any good blanks. You know, again, I'm willing to be charitable to him. If there's something, you know, I would tell you right now, if I thought the Tax Policy Center had missed something and go, oh, you know, they did it wrong, I would say that because I'm not on the Obama campaign. They're not paying me. I would say that. I don't see it. I don't see any way you could interpret his plan and be more generous to the middle class, unless you're going to say he's not serious about having balanced cuts. In other words, he's just going to give people big tax cut and not pay for it, which may be what he intends, but that's certainly not what he's saying.
Yeah, well, he ain't saying much. Dean Baker,